Does that look a little bright? Is that get that light off my bald spot. You know, Carol, I just recently found out they used to laugh when I called it my bald spot. Because it's a little bit more than a spot. So we got to talk, we got to blow your minds about Mitt Romney. Wait, Carol, we got to talk about the meatest Walter Dalton campaign.
Oh, all right.
Can you put up the one that's got the puppet? I think it's number 16, something like that. So last week we complained about the Walter Dalton campaign not being aggressive enough. And this week they have a puppet show up online. Carol, I'm torn. I'm torn. I'm totally torn. So I'm torn because they make Pat McCrory into a puppet. And he's not a very attractive puppet. They make Mitt Romney a robot, Carol. Yes. Mitt Romney's a robot. It's pretty funny. It's like you don't expect Democrats to have a sense of humor this good. It's not great. You know, it's political humor. You know what I'm saying, Carol? You know how that is. Political humor.
I like the kid in the background jumping in the pool.
Oh, yeah, that's Pat McCrory. They have Paul Ryan jumping in the pool in the background, playing around. Is that your kid? No, that's Paul Ryan. It's funny. Go look. Go. It's funny. The first thing is about the tax returns. Pat McCrory won't release his tax returns. He's running for governor in North Carolina, and Walter Dalton's campaign is like, why don't you release your tax returns? And the best part, Carol, is not the tax returns. It's where they ask Pat McCrory's people, and it's a guy. They actually have an actual ventriloquist, I think, Carol. A ventriloquist, unlike me, unlike this guy who can't stop moving his lips. They have a ventriloquist, and they have him. They have his hand up Pat McCrory's butt, and they ask, "What is it you do again for a job?" And Pat McCrory goes, "You just got to go watch it." Pat McCrory goes, "Oh, I work at a law firm." "Are you a lawyer?" "No." What do you do again? What do they pay you for?" "Well, it's really good." Pat McCrory, I say, isn't releasing his tax returns because he's got a really weird job. Pat McCrory's job would not be, this is the argument of the Walter Dalton people, would not be understandable to anyone, to the average North Carolina citizen. Pat McCrory's job would not be understandable. God, my fingers are out of practice, Carol. I'm not moving my, maybe if I just do this and just keep talking, it'll sync up in your heads, you know? They do that, you know, you look for patterns. Your brain makes patterns. So if I just do this and just keep talking, then you'll like notice that you'll make it work. So anyway, okay, that's good. So now we got to blow their minds about Mitt Romney. Can we do that? Can we? So, oh, no, this is why I'm torn, Carol. Walter Dalton's campaign, puppetpat.com, it's meatist. It's meatist, Carol. It's meatist against cloth. Americans of cloth. Americans of fuzz. Americans of fabric. Fabric Americans, that's what it is. Fabricated Americans. Why is Walter Dalton's campaign using puppets as an insult? This is an insult to all puppets. We are fabricated Americans, and we are tired of not being allowed to marry. We are tired of your discrimination. We are tired of Chick-fil-A attacking us again and again and again and again. Why is Walter Dalton's campaign is using anti-puppet propaganda against his opponent? It's meatist. It says you got to be meat to run for president, to run for governor. It's wrong, monkeys. Or monkeyist? Is it monkeyist? It's fabricist. All right, so anyway, I'm torn. I think it's funny, but, you know, what's wrong with being a puppet? What's wrong with being a puppet? Except if you're a political puppet. Okay, so can we, can we, okay, all right, you want to get rid of me? Okay, all right, we're done, okay. All right, so We got to blow your minds about Mitt Romney. Now, I know that people who follow politics very, very closely, like you know, the kind of people who are, latest Drudge update. Great. Oh, and by the way, I know it's National Review, the corner at National Review, not National Journal. National Journal is the Canadian conservative newspaper that I also visit. Remember last week, Carol, I was talking about conservative sites that I visit? Well, I said the corner at the National Journal. It's the corner at the National Review. I get that. But the National Journal is a conservative newspaper in Canada. Okay, so you should be going to, if you're conservative, liberal sites. Talking Points Memo is a good one. You all know about Talking Points Memo. But Digby is also even better for just an aggressive, hard-hitting Digby's blog. Digby Hullabaloo is what it's called, right? So check it out. Just Google Digby and Hullabaloo, and you'll find it. It's a really sharp, smart left-wing blog. I don't always agree with everything, of course, but it's really, really good. So anyway, I'm nosing around about this abortion thing with Todd Akins in Missouri. But here's the key thing. Here's the key thing. Are you ready? Paul Ryan's position, the vice presidential candidate that Mitt Romney chose to bolster his conservative credentials. Paul Ryan's position on abortion, you've heard this, right? This is true. This is not the new part. Paul Ryan's position on abortion is the standard far-right conservative position in the Republican Party, which owns the Republican Party now. They just passed in the Republican platform, the Republican Party platform, a plank, Carol, that says abortion should be illegal and there's no exception for rape. There's no exception for incest. That is in the Republican Party platform. Now, if you're a woman, what are you doing voting for this party? If they win and they take the Senate and they have the presidency, you can kiss abortion goodbye, even for incest and rape. That is what they want. That is Paul Ryan's position. Now, Paul Ryan is a little bit nuanced. He sponsored a bill, remember this, last year, 2 years ago, sponsored a bill that said, well, only for forcible rape in the House of Representatives. If there's forcible rape, we will allow an abortion. Can we put up the one, Carol, that says what the hell is legitimate rape anyway? They're making a distinction between forcible rape or legitimate rape and other kinds of rape. Well, what other kinds of rape are they talking about? I think that's a fair question, right? What the hell is this legitimate rape? It's not, he's now backtracking. Akins, the senator. Oh, I'm sorry, I chose my words wrongly. No. They clearly have an idea in their head that there's legitimate kinds of rape that deserve a woman, if she's properly contrite and perhaps a virgin and religious, all kinds of other things factor in. We know this because they've said things like this on the far right, the anti-abortion idiots. So if they're clearly, Todd Akins says, oh, I misspoke, I didn't mean legitimate rape. No, he did mean legitimate rape. They clearly have in their minds this mindset that there are some rapes that deserve abortion and some rapes that don't. Well, I think, other people on the planet who are maybe more intelligent will be like, oh, I have a question. What are the non-legitimate forms of rape? Now, remember, this is not just a misspeaking on Todd Akins' part. This is part of what he and Paul Ryan tried to do in a bill just recently in the U.S. House of Representatives, when they tried to put the word forcible rape into the law that allowed abortions, right? They said abortion would be legal for forcible rape. So what were they talking about? Oh, well, the alternative, sorry, I'm stringing you along, is statutory. One example, statutory rape. When you've got a 13-year-old girl who's convinced to have sex by a 30-year-old guy, say, and gets pregnant. It wasn't a forcible rape. This is how the vice presidential candidate for the Republican Party, Paul Ryan, this was in his bill that he put forth recently. Forcible rape. So the non-forcible rape is, well, you know, a 13-year-old gets seduced by a 30-year-old and gets pregnant. That's legally rape, Carol, is it not? In North Carolina, statutory rape is 13, 14, or 15, and the person who has sex with you is more than 6 years older than you. That's the law, as I understand it, in North Carolina. Statutory rape. The law says that's wrong. But Paul Ryan and Todd Akins, in their mindset of, well, there's legitimate rape, would look at that and say, well, that's not legitimate rape, and that girl should not be allowed to legally get an abortion. A 13-year-old seduced by a 30-year-old, even though that's against the law and is called statutory rape, they don't want that included. That's what they mean by legitimate rape. So that girl is forced to bear her child as punishment, Carol. That's what Paul Ryan was thinking. Now, when the bill never got picked up by the Senate. Thank God it's controlled by even the spineless Democrats that we have. But the Senate was controlled by Democrats, and they didn't even take up the bill. But the language got dropped before it got sent to the Senate. Other Republicans and Democrats were like, we're not making a distinction between forcible rape and the other more acceptable kinds of rape where, well, you should have the kid. Republicans are going after this stuff. So Todd Akins, this guy that Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney are now, denouncing, has exactly the same position on this legitimate rape thing that Paul Ryan did. That's what they meant by legitimate rape. There are certain kinds of rape that deserve the right to have an abortion grudgingly. And remember, the Republican Party platform right now, they just passed it, doesn't even allow rape and incest exemptions. That's it, we're done. But this is where we blow your mind about Mitt Romney. As we look at the kind of person, I'm trying to figure out what kind of guy Mitt Romney is. You know, every politician changes their positions. Obama does it. He squirts out some delicious smelling farts for the left during a campaign and then immediately becomes just as bad, if not worse, than George Bush on things like the bombings, the drone strikes, and the secrecy and going after whistleblowers. The Obama administration's far worse than the Bush administration, than the Cheney administration was when it comes to an attack on anybody who whistleblows. And remember, whistleblowing is the good kind of leaking, right, Carol? Anyway, so Obama farts out some sweet-smelling things for the left on the campaign trail, and then, doesn't give two craps about what he just farted out on the campaign trail when he gets, elected, or in this case, reelected. We know that politicians do this. Mitt Romney did it all throughout his career as governor. We know this. But this is a really weird moment. This is why they're so scared of what Todd Akins, this Missouri senator, has done. Carol, the fine ladies at the bargain box, customers and employees, were talking about this guy Todd Akins the other day. When you have the fine ladies at the bargain box in Cameron Village talking about how insane you are, you've really got a problem. And Romney knows this, right? So here's the thing. Romney is trying to distance himself from Todd Akins, but he's just chosen a guy who shares exactly Todd Akins' position on some kinds of legitimate rape and other kinds that don't deserve the right to an abortion. Now, leave aside the fact that every woman deserves the right to an abortion because the damn embryo is not a person yet. I'm sorry, that's just a fact. And if you want to hear it proven, just start asking all these abortion is murder people how long of a jail sentence a mother who has an abortion should get. Ask them. Well, abortion is murder, right? So how long of a jail sentence do you think a woman who has an illegal abortion after you guys make it illegal should get? And they start to clam up, they go crazy. There was a famous video about this back, about 5-6 years ago now. I should link to it, Carol. It's great. Guy goes to an abortion protest. Now I'm sure they have all kinds of great talking points about it, but it's really great. These are people who haven't even thought once. Abortion is murder, abortion is murder. What should happen to the woman who has an illegal abortion in your new brave society where abortion's illegal? Oh, I didn't even think about that. They know that that's a losing political issue. Oh yeah, well, if a woman has an abortion, throw her in jail. But that's the only logical position, right, Carol? if abortion is murder, right? The mother who has an abortion, right, in your worldview, has to be thrown in jail. Oh, that's between God and the woman. Well, why isn't the decision to have an abortion between God and the woman? The punishment is. Oh, okay. Anyway, it's completely mind-bogglingly stupid. They haven't thought it through. It's none of their damn business. It is between a woman, her doctor, and her God. Nobody else. That's it. It's not an easy decision to make, but it's none of your freaking business. So, anyway, here's where we blow your mind. One of the things, and I'm trying to be fair here, because one of the things that's kind of an open question in the Paul Ryan bill that he tried to pass through the House of Representatives, right? Just in this last session with Todd Akins, Mr. Legitimate Rape. Paul Ryan and Todd Akins were like this together on this. There's no way Mitt Romney can deny this. One of the things they tried to do is pass this fetus personhood thing, right? An embryo is a person. Now, one of the groups that's most vehemently against this are doctors who specialize in fertilization issues. Make sense, Carol? Because doctors who specialize in fertilization issues know how weirdly effed up fertilization issues can be inside the uterus and with the sperm and the egg and meeting. And there's all kinds of, most implantations or most conceptions, maybe not most, I think it might be a third. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact figure in my head. I had it earlier today. Up to a third, let's say, of conceptions where the sperm and the egg actually meet and start to do something, never implant and get passed out into the sewage. Right, Carol? So naturally speaking, I'll just say a significant percentage, not most, I was misspeaking there, I was stupid. A significant percentage, I think it's a third, of conceptions end up flushed down the toilet. This whole notion that the conception is this, no, that's not how nature is. That's mythical magic thinking. That's Harry Potter thinking. That's vibrating broomstick thinking. Remember those, Carol? Anybody else remember the vibrating Harry Potter broomsticks? I know, it seems so long ago. I think there was only 2 movies out at that point of the Harry Potter series. But, so that's magical thinking. In reality, up to a third of conception, special spiritual moments get flushed down the toilet naturally. In many cases, before the woman even knows she's pregnant. So fertility doctors have this mindset of like, well, it's a little more nuanced than every sperm is sacred. Every egg is great, and together they make this thing that from the moment they meet, it's like genius life. I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. It's not scientific, it's stupid. And Mitt Romney doesn't believe it either. Because, can we put this up? Yeah, is it up? That's been up? 3 of Mitt Romney's sons, 3, he's got 18 grandchildren, 3 of his sons, 5 sons, right? 3 of his sons have used in vitro fertilization. Now, in case you don't know what this is where they take the eggs out of the mother, and they take multiple eggs out of the mother. Mitt Romney's daughters-in-law, sons' wives, take the eggs out of Mitt Romney's daughters-in-law in a lab, put them in a petri dish, I'm generalizing, of course, take the sperm from Mitt Romney's sons and try to fertilize a bunch of the eggs. You don't want to just choose 1 egg at a time and then implant that, because that's inefficient. And doctors know that most conceptions don't take. So doctors take a bunch of the eggs at once and a bunch of the sperm, and they cultivate some embryos in the lab. Then they take those existing embryos and insert them back into Mitt Romney's daughter-in-law's vagina. And they hope, what did I say?
You said her vagina. They go all the way to the uterus.
Well, technically they go to the vagina, but you're right, they go into the uterus, thank you. They implant them into the uterus and hope that that one of them takes. Now, Mitt Romney's son, Tag, his wife just had twins in May. And I'm not making this up. Here's the caucus blog at the New York Times. Can we show this, Carol? Can you see that? 2 new grandchildren for Romney with help of surrogate. This is even further than that, actually. This is even further. So they use a surrogate for a couple of the kids, the twins. So when you implant these things, you implant more than one and hope that one takes, but occasionally 2 or 3 or 4 take. What's Octomom, Carol? Yeah. Octomom was they implanted 8 of them at once and hoped that one took, and 8 of them took, or as many of them as they implanted. So they implant a lot of these embryos at once because they know that most of them aren't going to take. So Mitt Romney's son, Tag, just had twins with his wife, except they used his wife's egg, Mitt Romney's son's sperm, and implanted them into a surrogate. And Carol, they'd used this surrogate once before. One of their other children was born with this same woman. This is how Mitt Romney's eldest son had his most recent children, his twins. So the surrogate got implanted with the eggs and the sperm, the fertilized embryos, and they hoped that one of them took, 2 of them took. She got pregnant with twins from Tag and Tag's wife. I'm sorry, I don't know her name. And she gave birth to Mitt Romney's twin grandchildren and handed them over to Tag and Tag's wife. Now, I have no problem with surrogate parenthood, Carol. I really don't. I think it's great. It takes a village, remember? It does. Fertility issues are tough. Although, at this point, Carol, Tag and his wife had already had 4 children. So they're using a surrogate to have more children? Remember, you may not know this, I'm saying remember, but you should realize that the Mormon Church is against surrogate parenthood. And, as Carol points out, in vitro fertilization as well. These are things the Mormon Church is against. And yet Mitt Romney and his children, his oldest son, have been using both in vitro fertilization and surrogate parenting, surrogate motherhood. Mitt Romney's twin grandchildren, just born earlier this year, in May, I believe, came out of a surrogate mother. The Mormon Church doesn't like this, but it's okay for Mitt Romney's family. Why again?
Because he's rich.
Because he's rich. It costs about 60 grand to have a surrogate mother, according to things I've read online. Now, many middle-class families can afford this and save up and scrimp and save. If they've got fertility issues and they want a kid,
wow, 2 minutes.
They do it. But it's not something that's available to most people. This is one of those cases, it seems to me, where Mitt Romney's saying that this is something that's good for me, but I don't know. I'm going to bring on Paul Ryan, whose bill, if fetuses become persons, in vitro fertilization results in discarded embryos all the time. Go to my Twitter page. Carol, put up the Twitter page if you get a chance. And I've got links to articles from websites and interviews with Mitt Romney where he says it's okay to experiment, medical experiments, on those discarded embryos. He says that. But Paul Ryan, it's an open question. Does Paul Ryan think that's okay? No, he doesn't. Neither does Todd Akins. So what's going on over there on the Republican Party ticket when it comes to abortion? It's a mess.
And who are they going to prosecute for killing the embryos? The mother, the doctor?
Who are they going to prosecute for killing those embryos when those are discarded? You can only use so many of them. Some of them take, some of them don't, and then you throw out the rest. Mitt Romney says, he was quoted in 2005 and 2008 saying it's okay to discard them. That's okay. Paul Ryan doesn't think that, and if Mitt Romney becomes president, the Republican Party, and with a Republican Senate as well, if we lose the Senate as Democrats, Mitt Romney's not going to be able to do that. His children will be able to buy it if they go somewhere else, but you won't, I won't. One other thing, Carol. He talks about a serious disease in his family. I don't know what that serious disease is. Does it affect the men, the women? The fertility thing, that 3 of his sons had fertility issues. I'm sorry, this is worth, discussing. He talked about a serious disease affecting his family. Shouldn't we know what that is? Anyway, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. We'll see you next week.